Lack of parental care. Lack of parental care is a contribution to juvenile delinquency. It is one of the reasons why we have so many broken families in our society. It started on the 24th of October, 2020, on a Friday night, the night that changed the life of the boy and of his father. One of the reasons why we're no longer able to use terms like, it takes a village to raise a child, because the village itself has bred broken children. A story of a boy I once knew to be a bright and shining star. A boy who grew up in a family that was so good at painting over scars and concealing bruises that by the time he wiped off the paint, it was more than just scars and bruises, but a bleeding child. It had already been too late when they found out about his addiction. An addiction he'd picked up from his father. His father being somebody who bled on everyone he met, painting them with the smell and stain of alcohol and depression. This boy was taught to cover up and never be seen. Not allowed any room for mistake, so accustomed to chaos that peace was just like folktale to his ears. Being taught that vulnerability is a disease because his father himself had no other option but to be tough, letting his fears overpower his love. Tough love was the facade, but abuse was its reality. From birth, being on survival mode is something not everybody doesn't break from, but also a burden one carries around like a lingering shadow. A shadow that feeds off of you and those around you. Parents tend to live their lives picking up the pieces the wind has blown away. Even though it may not have been the way he wanted to raise him, it was the only way he chose how to. Left to fend for himself and neglected, he passed it on to his descendant, forgetting to protect him from the fears that trampled him before. He let his lingering shadow feed off of his son. Past mistakes shouldn't accord for how people choose to heal themselves. When parents raise their children, they try their utmost best not to make the same mistakes their parents before them had made. Not because they don't want the child to live, but because they want a better future for them. But in the midst of trying to protect a child from making mistakes, they close off on what being a parent is about and open more on fixing a child who isn't broken. Broken households are core to children's recalcitrant behaviors, both within the household and outside the community. And broken parents are a recipe for damaged offspring. But what is a home without the love of a parent? And sometimes we run around like lost souls looking for someone to take us home. But what is a home without the love of a parent? What is a home if not a place one creates to comfort themselves from their sad reality? This is a story with no happy ending. Even though the father had always been the root of all damage, the boy grew up to resemble his father, leading a life of chaos, not knowing that the only life paved by chaos leads to nothing but distraction. Not knowing that the only life paved by chaos leads to nothing but distraction. A loop of damage continues to linger around broken families. And with no one to break those barriers, it becomes hard to build bridges to cross over. But it is only when someone decides to stand up and break those barriers that we can build bridges to cross over. Thank you.